you sent me a copy of a letter that some of the senators, including
10
yourself,
senators, I think.
are sending to Steve Pierce.
We already sent it.
Okay.
We hand-delivered it last Tuesday.
And so why don't you explain that and what that's about and why you're concerned, what your concerns are.
Well, my concern is we have a House Victory Fund and a Senate Victory Fund. That's for Republicans. The whole idea behind these funds was to use in the general these funds to support electing Republicans. Well, the Senate President and Speaker are using these funds to support liberal Republicans in primaries that are contested by other Republicans against each other. So, for instance, Rich Crandall is receiving IEs, independent expenditures, where they're doing mailers for him against John Fillmore, who's the conservative, and basically Rich Crandall is one of the biggest liberals in the Senate. He was our Senate Education Chairman. I could not even get some of my bills through his education. I had to run them through government reform because he would have killed them. He's not known. He considers himself the Carolyn Allen of the Senate. If you remember Carolyn Allen, she's not exactly a conservative. She's more of a Democrat. So they're violating Reagan's cardinal rule not to support and get involved in primaries. And Andy Tobin made our state party chairman, Tom Morrissey, sign a letter stating that he would not play in any primaries because Tobin was worried that because Tom Morrissey's a strong conservative that he might back some conservatives in the primary. Tom's not doing that. He signed a letter saying that he wouldn't, but here's Andy and Steve doing this with our money. So us senators wanted to make sure nobody thought we were going along with this because we are not.
And are you sure that this is being done, because I've seen Steve Pierce has said that he doesn't have control of how the money's spent. Are you sure that it's being done with both Andy's and Steve's cooperation and consent?
Well, basically, they're the ones who went out and raised the money for the fund. They have chairmen for each of the fund, but ultimately they decide how they're going to play and where the money's going. So yes, and I heard Andy said, well, I had nothing to do with it because we commingled our funds, so therefore they had to list the House Victory Fund. That is bogus. I mean, they do have, they have a legal barrier, but they do have influence over those funds, and they went out and raised the money for them as well. And the money's from the downtown business crowd that are open borders people, and that's why they're supporting Crandall, because Crandall was a big detractor against Russell Pierce in 1070.
So now when it came up for the fact, the caucus had to vote for Steve Pierce to be Senate President, is that correct? I mean, how does that work?
Well, the caucus had the vote, and he won by one vote. And you know whose vote that was?
Was that yours?
No.
Did you vote for him?
No, I didn't. I voted for Andy Biggs because Andy was the more conservative. It was Ron Gould. Ron Gould sold his vote for the endorsement by Steve Pierce for his race for Congress.
Okay.
So that's how that happened. Now, I quickly, as soon as Steve won, I am a Republican that stands behind my leader and my president. I quickly told him, I've got your back. You need to have our back from the conservative caucus, and he did. So Steve really backed the conservative. That's why we got all those good conservative bills out of the Senate. So that's why I didn't run against Steve, to be honest. So now he did endorse my opponents, and he should have told me because he told me he would remain neutral, and he did not. But I would have liked it had he told me what he was going to do, because I understand. I'm a big girl. Just hurt me with the truth, not a lie.
So, and here's the letter you sent, the email you sent me.
Yes.
Because I had a couple of other questions about it. Here, you asked, do you have the letter yet? We need to strike while the iron's hot. And what did you mean by that?
Well, people need to know, so they would stop doing this. We wanted them to stop sending out mailers in a primary. They should not be picking winners and losers amongst Republicans in a primary. Because of redistricting, we're going to have challenges of Democrats. And we need that money to go against the Democrats so that we get Republicans in office. So none of us were happy with them playing in the primary, especially after they've made our state party chairman absolutely agree never to do anything. And he's not. I mean, he's upholding that rule. It's unethical. I'm sorry. It really does not pass the smell test.
So, and then after that, because that was an email, I guess, to Andy Biggs, that when
Oh.
you said we need to strike. And then after that, Andy Biggs responded and said, delivered on Tuesday, pot boiling now. Okay, and then says, taking the next step soon. What's the next step?
I think we were going to have a press conference, but I don't think we need to. You're doing our job for us.
Oh.
No, we were thinking about doing a press conference of as senators, because sometimes the media, especially down in Phoenix, they don't like conservatives. I told all of this to Luigi at the Capitol Times. He hasn't printed anything. I mean, they printed the letter one out, but it's more like, oh, so what,
So, and then, but is, in a way, by doing this, isn't that playing in primaries too?
What do you mean?
In that, by doing this, I mean, isn't Andy Biggs kind of playing in the primaries as far as, supporting you or?
He's
or
not.
that?
No, I mean he's endorsed me, but I'm sorry, he's not. We're not the ones putting money behind a candidate with the victory fund from the House or Senate. They're not putting money behind me in the primary. Yeah, if that were the case, I'd say yes, but no.
Okay.
Nobody's supported and endorsed. I mean, I've got some of my senators colleagues have endorsed me. Nobody's putting any money behind me. That's a whole nother step.
Yeah. It feels like there's kind of a concerted effort to get both Steve and Andy out of leadership down at the Capitol. But is that correct? Is that a
Concerted effort by whom?
by, well, like with this letter, here.
This letter
and-
is clearly stating what we're stating. The fact is, we don't play in primaries and pick liberals over conservatives. That's what that letter says. It's not an indictment,
Okay.
if you will, on leadership. Now, whatever happens, we don't know, because we don't know how many Republicans are coming back, what the dynamics are going to be. Nobody's talking about upsetting the apple cart until we know what. Now, I'm a conservative. I will vote for a conservative for speaker
Right.
if I'm elected. You can
Okay.
count on that.